Welcome to Ancient Astrology with Sam and Verity.
Hi, I'm Sam Bakewell.
And I'm Verity Hebbs. And today, episode 26, we'll be looking at the lunar nodes.
We are indeed. So we're going to get the technical side out of the way.
Yep.
We are going to be looking at the lunar nodes in a traditional astrology sense and how modern astrologers use them as well. So before we start, the lunar nodes are where the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic, and the ecliptic is the path of the sun. So let's do a diagram here. And I might just have this up while we're talking about it. Okay. So you can see that the orbit of the moon and where the sun's orbit and where that point meets. And so the south node is always opposite the north node. And so they're just imaginary lines. They also mark places of total eclipses of the sun and the moon where that happens. So it's an important point, even though it's not a planet, it's still important because, it has something to do with the sun and the moon.
Yeah, their relationship.
Yeah. And so the solar eclipse is when the new moon moves between the Earth and the sun, obscuring the solar disk, and the lunar eclipse occurs during a full moon phase and is when the full moon, when the Earth is between the sun and the moon. And the lunar nodes spend about 18 and a half months in their signs. And 18 years, just over 18 years in from sign to sign.
Make the full cycle around the zodiac.
That's right. And the north node is known as the head of the dragon.
Yes.
And the south node is the tail of the dragon. So
yes. So it's like that circle, isn't it, where it's eating its tail.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so there is something in page 306 in the Anthology Book 8 Balance. So I'll just read this out to you, and that gives you an idea of what a second century astrologer would have to say about it. So he says, so for every nativity, the solar and lunar degree position must be closely observed to see if they are coming to a node. So if so, they cause a lack of success in enterprises. Even more, they also involve men in violent dooms and afflictions. And I won't mention the rest of it. Nothing good.
Quite negative. So is he talking about both nodes or the south
node? Because of the way he's saying it, I'm not quite sure whether he's using a transit, so watch out for it. Is that by transit or when an eclipse hits your sun and a moon?
Very true, yes.
Or do you have an eclipse in your natal chart? But if it is in your natal chart, I do know there's many successful people that are born with an eclipse. So
yes,
it does sound a bit like a transit. If you have a transit to those nodes.
I think eclipses are times when dramatic things can happen, good and bad. And it's a lot of that talk isn't about things getting ushered away and you just have to let it happen and surrender.
Mundane, when I'm looking at the world, it definitely has a huge impact on the world. For us personally, it can be quite subtle.
Yes, exactly. Especially probably depending where the nodes are and the eclipse
It depends on what it's hitting, what planet it's hitting, and
for your own chart.
Yeah, and I think if you weren't an astrologer, or if you didn't know something about astrology, or you weren't watching out for a particular eclipse hitting you, you probably wouldn't even know.
No, I remember, because it's moved into Aries and Libra. So I've especially last year, I was like, oh, there's an eclipse. And then my friend was like, there's an eclipse all the time. Like, it's always eclipses.
Not all the time.
No, but they just kind of thought, like, what's the big deal? Like,
yeah. So I'm not sure what he's talking about, but why I was reading that to you is I just wanted you to know that he, second century astrologers did have
they saw a lot of sort of power
relevance with the nodes.
Yeah.
And he also uses it for a calculation for longevity as well,
So
from
it's to do with
I can't
life.
remember what it is, but it's the distance between one of the nodes to another planet to the ascendant.
Mm.
So
So a big thing with life. I wonder if that's kind of that connection with the earth and, sorry, with the moon and the sun is,
yes, it would
they
be.
are both
Yeah.
sort of related to our life.
And that's why it's significant
Mm.
because it has something to
The
do with the
father and
moon
the
and the
mother,
sun.
and the
Yeah,
two sort of
exactly.
luminaries. Yeah.
So they're said to have exaltation. So the head is in
Ah,
Gemini, which is the north node, and the tail, the south node, is Sagittarius.
oh,
And
okay.
it is said to be about 3 degrees. So, I mean, I know
Hmm.
they do mention, the degrees for exaltations, but I would just think that it
Yeah.
wouldn't matter what degree it is in. But if you have the north node in Gemini, you have the south node in Sagittarius, that whatever degree that is exalted to me.
Do you have a theory why that would be?
No, I
No,
don't.
because
I don't
thinking
know.
of the
No.
moon, it's kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, not that it's not exalted or in rulership in Gemini or Sagittarius. So, or
Mm,
in fall in Sagittarius. So interesting.
yeah.
Wonder why. If you know why, you could comment
Yes, please do.
below and tell us or
Yeah.
your theory on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
Okay, so I've stopped sharing that.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot more information in the medieval text, though. They do use it quite a bit. And so I started off as a medieval astrologist, so that's where my knowledge of the nodes is with
Mhm.
the medieval texts. And so the North Node is considered a benefic, and it's to do with increase.
Mm.
It's masculine, and it's the nature of Venus and Jupiter. And the South Node is considered of a malefic nature, and it's about decrease, feminine, and the nature of Mars and Saturn, and it empties and lessens and takes things away.
Mm.
So another take on it is that the North Node will increase the malefic planets and increase the benefic. So if it's conjunct a benefic planet, it increases its benefits.
Hmm.
And if it's with Mars or Saturn, then it increases that malice.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. Okay, so it's a place of gain.
Mm.
And the South Node will deplete the malefic planets and deplete the benefics.
Right. So it's almost like um it's not in itself benefic or malefic. It's just whatever it's tied to, it gains
No,
or
on itself,
decreases.
by itself though, if it wasn't making an aspect to
Ah,
anything in your
okay.
natal
It would
chart,
be
well then it would
benefic.
still be the North Node would still
Yeah.
be of benefit to
Mm.
you, of some sort of gain.
Hmm.
And I'll explain shortly how I've used it in the
Yes.
natal chart and
Yeah,
how
that
I've
would be
seen it
good.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, let's just get over with the Fedaria,
Hmm.
because our last episode was about the Fedaria,
Yep.
and we started talking about the nodes and
Yeah, they're
how that,
interesting.
yeah, so
Mm.
some of this is how I use it.
Hmm.
And so the North Node rules for 3 years and the South Node for two.
Hmm.
And so the modern astrologers believe that the nodes have a karmic path in life, and the South Node reveals your past life
Yes.
and the gifts you brought into this
Yeah.
lifetime, and therefore what you are comfortable with. And the North Node shows new directions in this lifetime, your purpose. So I do love that theory.
Mm.
I can't prove a lot of it, because I can't prove that a past life sort of situation.
No, but I think people do relate to it, and you can
Mm,
kind of see it when you talk
mm,
to people about it. Yeah, you can kind of say this is a place in your life that maybe you're compelled to go in, but you don't feel very prepared. Whereas the South Node is more where you feel comfortable, but there's something about it that's not working out this time. And
mm.
I feel like people have often agreed with that. Have you found that too? That if you look at people's north and south
I
nodes?
don't know whether the people that I have mentioned that to and written a report like that,
Uh-huh.
whether they just like the idea or whether they
Yes.
resonate with it,
Yeah.
because I think, we can resonate with it because it
Yes.
is in our natal chart, so it must have some sort of relevance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So perhaps, I can't guarantee that that's
No.
how,
And
because I
some
haven't used it
people,
for a lot of people.
yeah.
I haven't had clients who've got to their Vidaria,
Yeah.
and then I've used it. So it's only been a couple of times that I've had to
Yeah.
do that.
And some people or
It's
like
later in life.
astrologers say it's more just what is it? So instead of being a past life, it's more like your childhood.
Mm,
And then it's more kind of like where you're heading in life is the North Node. So like South Node is
yeah,
more like childhood.
yeah.
So I guess
Okay.
it's more to do
Oh,
with,
okay.
yeah. So it
I
could
haven't
be,
heard that theory, but
yeah.
yeah, that
So I
sounds
guess if they don't
interesting.
want to do past life sort of connection, that could
Yeah,
be how it sort of plays out maybe.
yeah. Okay. I'll have a think about that one.
Yeah, or it could just be like what you were saying, which is how earlier
Mm,
with the medieval, which is it's something you're losing and something you're gaining.
yeah.
It could just represent that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that bit on the North Node about your purpose, I think is very simplistic.
Mm.
It's like astrology isn't that simplistic.
Yeah.
If it was that easy, well then, great, but it's normally not.
Mm.
It's normally a deeper level. It's like the triplicity lords, and you've got to know your foundation, da da
Mm.
da. Yeah, so your purpose with the North Node, please, if you find that that's true, that's great. You can
Mm.
comment on that. I would get to know your nodes by your transits,
Mm.
so then you understand, and especially the sun on the moon when
Mm-hmm.
they make a transit.
Yeah.
So what I've received, so when I've had a perfection report, a monthly perfection report, back in the early days, I've sort of dropped doing this now. But if the North Node was in that month, then I would be saying something about gains,
Mm-hmm.
some sort of financial gains. And then when because I'm writing up a report and they're normally like, they can be up to about 10 pages of
Mm.
predictions. So I'm not going to hang on to the nodes for long,
Yeah, the
right?
other things, yeah.
Yeah. And then
Mm.
the south nodes, I'd say a loss of money.
Yeah.
And that could be, you've forgotten a bill or, something,
Something,
something
yeah,
like that,
something
some
cropped
sort
up.
of financial
Mm.
loss. And I found that that has worked quite well. But then, like I said, there's so much more that I type about now after many years of writing reports that I don't use it so much for
Yeah.
that anymore. Yeah. So I'm just going to now go to our chart
Mm-hmm.
because we happen to have a transit going on um, in our natal chart. Okay, I'll do you first.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's just a good way of finding out a bit more about your nodes and
Yeah,
how
it's a
what they do.
cool idea. And I actually didn't look at what the planets were doing yesterday, so I wasn't even aware of this.
Yeah, and so you had this exact conjunction with the moon
Very
and
cool.
your north node from your
Yeah.
10th house. And you also, because if it's making a conjunction, it's making an opposition to your south node.
Yes, they're
So,
exactly the
your
same
south node would
degree,
be,
aren't they? But it
yeah,
would be in Cancer.
yeah. Sorry, I
Yeah.
can't see very well because I've got
No,
multifocal,
it's
so it's
not
too
on.
close. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's not
No,
depicted
they
there,
don't
but
always
it's
show the South Node on
no,
charts.
but it would be
But it's
opposite.
yes.
So this is a gain, right?
Yes.
And then a loss, and it's
Yes.
running through your 10th and your fourth house. So,
Yeah, so it conjuncts your north node,
and
but
this
it would
was
be opposing the
yesterday.
south node. Yeah, so I actually had a work function on, which was a really great opportunity, and I loved it. But I was sad because I wasn't with my children, and that's represented in the fourth house south node, 10th house career. So
Yeah,
that's amazing how that worked out,
yeah,
without me even aware. So
yeah, exactly.
the
So,
timing,
yeah, so getting to know
crazy,
your nodes
so cool.
is great through this experiment,
Mm.
through. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
I had, like, so my north node is here. and I have my south node at 18 degrees in Scorpio. It would be here. Um, so the sun was connecting to
To
it,
South Node,
and also the north node, it would be the sun would oppose it, but I also had the moon. So I had a few things. So the moon was sextiling the south node and trining the north node. So
So it was like a triangle.
it was blue. I did put it in blue. I don't know why it went black. I think because I must have went black here and it just clicked onto black there. So I didn't notice that, but it's a trine. And so I had a sudden call from a friend
11th house.
that was quite a bit of a journey, actually. So it was 40 minutes. Yeah, 40 minutes, but it actually took me about 50 minutes because it was peak hour traffic.
Yep, so noticeable and traffic.
Yeah. Yep.
Phone call.
Yeah.
Third house.
Yes. And we could also, add in this conjunction here and the opposition, with that story, because it actually was something that I felt like I had no control over the situation. And this person was because the sun represents leaders and bosses and things like that, was a leader and kind of is still, I still get payment for this, for working with this person. So, there was this opposition also. And so there was a gain, a loss and a gain.
Yeah.
So the loss was my time.
Yes.
I was working on astrology and I was going to be working.
Ninth house.
Yeah. And I was working. So I was setting up this class and I had another couple hours to do, which I didn't get a chance to finish it up. And
so wow, that's amazing. Hey,
but I got paid for it.
Yes, so that's a gain, which is
so there was this loss of time. I couldn't finish off our podcast properly.
Yep.
But the gain was I did get paid pretty decent money to go off suddenly like that.
And mine was, I guess, gaining experience. And that great feeling, and kind of like when you're feeling like, this is like an aligned path that I'm taking, and feeling that confirmation that you really are enjoying what you're starting to do. Yeah. Loss was loss of time with my children, which,
exactly.
The whole day I was kind of feeling like, I feel like I'm obligated to go in a sense because I don't really want to, because I want to be with my kids instead. So it's, that kind of loss and gain. And for you, it was also the same thing. Gain financially, but loss of the astrology time.
I know. And you see that so much more when you have a transit between the nodes with the sun and the moon. Like for orbs, when you're doing this transit for your orbs, they say, I've heard that there's a 10 to 12 degree orb with the nodes, but I would use my astro common sense would halve the planet's orb.
I think that's a good idea. Yes.
So that's how I do it. So of course you've got a little bit wider with the sun and the moon because they're a larger orb. So,
especially how
12
it's so exact.
The moon, 15 the sun.
The time that those things happened, it's so exact.
Yes, so it's quite interesting
really
to use. And the report that I filled out for this other native about she's in a South Node years by Vidaria, and so I did use a karmic blurb. What I wrote out was for karmic because it's in a friendship house. So there's this lots of friends that she might have known from a past life, or from previously. So if we're going for that past life, but like I said, I can't prove it. So I don't use it a great deal because I'm all about predicting and ticking off my predictions, and confirming it with the client.
I agree with that.
But it's still a lovely thing to be able to do, because, astrology, traditional astrology can be pretty hardcore, Okay, well, I think we're just introducing you once again to something, and it happens to be the nodes this time. So
it's a very interesting one. It was great to see. those kind of real life snapshots, wasn't it, that you just
Yeah.
pulled from
Yeah. I
yesterday,
mean,
which is
there's a
great.
lot more to discuss, but
Yeah.
there's a lot on the internet about the karmic stuff.
Mm,
There's so much, but just be careful because not everybody knows what they're talking about. So the true
no.
nodes and the mean nodes, you might see that. And so once upon a time, um, the devices that they had that weren't like what we have now. So we have true nodes
Mm,
now. So we have a actual proper calculation that will tell us the exact degree and minutes of the nodes. But once upon a time, they didn't. They had their astrolabe.
yeah.
So that's what's called a mean node.
Mm,
It's an apparent, and the mean node is also always retrograde.
mm.
So, all right. So that's it for the
Yes.
nodes. Hope you enjoyed that.
Yes. Thank you so much for
All right.
tuning in.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you
Yes.
do like it.
Yes.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye for now.
Bye.